that even though you know we're in real danger, meaning your life was not at risk, however, your body is feeling that losing the trust is a big threat.
I am Lucia Gallegos, and this is Flowers in Winter.
Hello, my name is Lucia Gallegos, and I'm a registered psychotherapist in Ontario. And here we are again in another episode of Flowers in Winter, a podcast where I talk about women and mental health. Just a reminder, any content that I provide here, it has the purpose just to provide information and to educate us on mental health. But if you feel that you need the guidance of a mental health practitioner, please always go and look for one that is registered. After saying that, let's gonna start with today's topic about betrayal trauma. And well, like I always like to do, I'm going to start sharing an experience of a friend of mine. This happened years ago. What happens is like she was in a long relationship. She was feeling happy, and there was a point where she called me and she told me, Lucia, you know what? I just feel in shock. I just realized that my partner at the time has been unfaithful. And for her, that changed her life. So what happened? She was feeling, and she told me, you know, Lucia, I kind of feel like in a shock. I feel like numb. I feel like I cannot move. And she told me my mind is running, and I have like these different thoughts about what just happened, about like blaming myself, about blaming the other person. And at the same time, I feel like numb, like there is numbness in my body. And then with days, she started to feel like she was getting angry, and also she felt anxious, but also she felt sad. And it was difficult for her to focus at work. It was difficult for her to be able to sleep at night. Her sleep schedule was totally interrupted. It was not only like an emotional pain what she was dealing with, but also felt like a physical pain. She could not work. So at that time, I explained to her what is happening to you is called betrayal trauma. And she told me, wait a second, how do you mean? I understand the part of betrayal. However, what do you mean by trauma? I mean, I haven't been in an explosion, or it's not a war, it's like, it was not a car accident, or I did not fall, did not have like a hard impact on my body. What do you mean, or what do you call it trauma? She was also surprised when I told her about what she was dealing with and how her body was responding to that. That happened years ago. For her, that is already in the past. But I wanted to talk about this topic because for some of you, you already probably know this term, like betrayal and the trauma, like a betrayal trauma, and the traumatic effect that betrayal and how it can affect us. But for other people, this might be totally new. And we're going to be talking about what it is, why we find it really difficult to identify it as trauma, and most important also, what we can do with that. Because, spoiler alert, there are different ways to work with this if you ever experience a situation or similar event. So, what is betrayal trauma? It's an emotional wound that happens either because you experience infidelity, or also because you experience manipulation from the other person. And these give you a sense of different overwhelming emotions, such as feeling fear, confusion, anger, anxiety, stress, and numbness as well. And the physical response that happens with your body is that you might get really hypervigilant. And also at the same time, you might become less able to focus and to function in your daily life. And why does this happen? Because basically, you had a really stressful situation that even though you know we're in real danger, meaning your life was not at risk, however, your body is feeling that losing the trust is a big threat. That's why it feels so heavy and so difficult and so challenging. So it is important to identify the reason behind it feels like a traumatic event, even though you were not in a big accident. That has nothing to do with that. The next thing to consider and to question is why it is so difficult to see betrayal as trauma. And one of the main reasons is because shame comes, and one of the inner dialogue that comes with it is, oh, I should have seen that, or it is my fault. Another factor that happens is that there are no visible scars. In other types of probably what most people think that trauma is, it involves like a physical, like the body is responding in a physical way. Like let's say that someone had a car accident and you say, yeah, I mean, that person was in a big event. I don't know, the leg was broken and probably was a huge situation that had a really difficult impact on the person. And one thing that is important to mention here, trauma is not exactly what happens to us, it's exactly what happens to us after that and how it shaped our brain. And that is a traumatic response. After a traumatic event where we were under a stressful situation, where we did not have any support at the time, or we felt that we did not have any support, that's going to have an impact on the brain. Pretty similar to what is a post-stress traumatic. And a traumatic event could be betrayal. Because it's something that you feel, I cannot trust this person anymore, or I don't feel safe, not meaning that I'm going to die, but I don't feel safe, I cannot trust again. So that has a big and a huge impact in the brain, in the person, in the emotional state. That's why it's so important to validate that betrayal, trauma is valid, and it does not make you a weak person. Because sometimes what people experience when there is betrayal, and most of the cases comes from external factors, also with internal factors, it's about, well, move on. That already happened. You're not dying. But it feels like you're dying. And that's why it's important to take care of yourself. Because when there is a physical wound, it's really easy for other people to see it. And I guess like if you had like a heart attack or like you had a heart surgery and people will go see you at the hospital, people will not tell you, oh, move on. They will probably tell you like a different dialogue. They will tell you different things like, okay, take care of yourself, take your time, you have to rest. What happens with betrayal trauma is because we don't see like the broken heart. We don't have like a MRI of the fear that you feel after losing trust. But the pain, the emotion is there and it's valid and it's real. We cannot see it though, but that does not mean that it's real. And that's why it's so difficult sometimes to perceive that after a traumatic event like a betrayal is not about sometimes let's get over it. It involves like a more holistic approach. Now, how do we heal? Is there a way to heal? Yes, there is a way. What happens is most of the time, people who experience betrayal trauma, they might feel shame and they might not talk about it, or if they do so, they not allow themselves to express how exactly they feel. Probably because, like I said before, they might feel the pressure from the external factors to say, okay, this is nothing, I'm strong, I will move on. But it's important first to identify what just happened, to give some room to process all these emotions and feelings. So the number one thing is to be aware of what just happened to you, to name it in order to be able to process that information, because a lot has happened to you. Probably after feeling or identifying there was an infidelity or that you've been manipulated, you might start to feel what just happened. Who am I? Who is this person? What was wrong with all this? And all these different questions might come to your mind. And with this question, also the emotions. And all the emotions are welcome, but just keep in mind, it's important to allow to feel the emotions in order to process them. So just be aware, be able to probably name it. Yes, I mean, this hurts, this is painful, and it's real. Even though I cannot see it, but it does exist. Then part of the process is to be able to have like resources or like a support network that can help you to navigate all these emotions. That could be friends or family. And also as well to be able to set boundaries, not only for others, but also for yourself. To take good care of yourself is vital as well. It's like after having a heart surgery. After the surgeries, you're going to be really in pain, and the doctor is going to tell you that you need to take it easy, that you need to, to help your heart to work again. And it's going to provide you with different exercises, physical exercises, but at the same time, it's going to tell you have to take really care of that heart. You might not be able for now eat this meal, or you might need to do this type of exercise, and everything in order to make your heart and your body feels better. And I like to put it in that way. If you experience any type of betrayal and you feel like you feel lost, or you feel numb, or you feel different emotions, it's part of the process. It is important to work with them though. And another part that is really important is to make your nervous system feel safe again. What do I mean by that? It's because when we experience betrayal, we experience, like I said before, we kind of like feel like we cannot trust anymore. Even though, let's say, after that relationship, you start probably meeting other people, you might feel like, I cannot really trust this person again. Because the traumatic effect, what happens is the brain, in order to prevent us from future threats, when there is a traumatic experience, learns to protect against them. But that does not mean that every relationship is gonna also be unfaithful. However, your brain, your nervous system feels like that. So it's important also to work with that, and that's something that you can do in therapy, in a therapeutic environment where with a professional you can help your nervous system to identify exactly how that is felt, not only emotionally, but also how it feels, like how your body is responding to that, how your nervous system is responding to that. Is it like after this event, do you feel like you want to, like there is anger or fear that maybe that's related to the fight or the flee response, or maybe you feel like so sad or numb that might be related to freeze response. And working with that, identifying that, and also helping not only your mind, your emotions, but also your nervous systems to be able to feel safe. That's something really important to work with. And finally, in therapy, there are different things that you can do in therapy. Like it's a safe space where you can explore the situation, the events, and try to process them, to rewrite the story, to process the emotions, to learn techniques to make you feel and to tell your body to make you feel safe with the breathing exercises probably, or with other polyvagal exercises. And at the same time that we explore like the emotions and how to reaccommodate the structure of your emotions and the dialogue, the inner dialogue that is happening in your mind. If you ever experience betrayal trauma and you feel really overwhelmed, and you may feel also angry at you or your mind or your body for feeling this way, just a reminder that is your body trying to protect you, and that there are different therapeutic approaches that can help you to deal and to heal and to make you feel reconnecting with you and to make you feel safe. Again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast and to watching my videos. I will hope to see you next time. And just keep in mind that if you go to my website, you can find a link to a video that I just created about how to deal with anxiety. It's totally free. It's 3 videos. This can help you to regulate your nervous system. And I hope that you enjoy also that as well. And enjoy the rest of your day or your night. And see you next time.
Flowers in Winter is a podcast by Lucia Gallegos, music by Rosy Cervantes. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook as Lucia Therapy.